Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Up Your Brave one-on-one live stream, where I get to talk to one person and really dive into their gold and their goodness so that we can collectively help everybody to raise the state of resilience, health, and happiness here in New Zealand and on a global scale. Now, this week, our theme is love and relationships. I'm even wearing my love jacket. It says love. I don't know if you can see it on the back. And we're going to be diving into that topic on a parenting level. I've got the beautiful Jacqlin Richards here from Your Parent Journey. How are you, Jacqlin?
I'm really well, thank you. It is absolutely lovely to be here. And I love your jacket, by the way.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being on the panel. So if you guys missed the live stream panel, I think it was last week or the week before, we had Jacqlin on talking about parenting and supporting kids through times of challenge and change and things like that. So I'll put the link in the comments later on for that. So Jacqlin, I'm going to read a little bit of backstory about you, and then I'd love it if you could add on to that as well. So for you guys that haven't met Jacqlin, she's a mother, a parent, mentor, speaker, and facilitator who is deeply passionate about bringing greater awareness to the way we raise our children, raising them with empowered. So she's an expert in empowered parenting. And I love the way you use the term freedom-focused parenting, and you have these 3 Fs that you talk about. So we're going to dive into that later. In her work, Jacqlin weaves in parts of her own unique journey and empowers parents to not parent from the past by repeating what their parents did. Her own parenting style that she has created with intention is more about grace and humor and fun and joy. I love that about you, and I'm super excited for you to share some of that today. So go ahead, over to you. If you want to elaborate, tell us a bit more of your backstory, and then how did you get into this world of parenting in terms of becoming an expert?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yes, I absolutely love what I do. And my work it's all about relationships. So I'm going to lift that word out of the title because we've put it in. So let's talk about it. So the relationship that the people that I work with have with themselves, have with their intimate partners, their wives, their husbands, and the relationship that they have with their children, right? So others around them. And my relationship, and you kind of touched on it when you said that, I weave parts of my own journey into my work. Well, my relationship to being a parent wasn't so great when I first became one. So I had and this is the way that I language it, I had a bit of a car crash entry into parenting. And I know that I am not alone in this, right? I know I'm not alone. So, and I share this, the sort of vulnerable side of my story, because I ended up in a mother and baby unit, which is essentially a less triggering way of saying a mental hospital, with severe postnatal depression and anxiety, right? That's where I ended up. And I ended up with a career that I didn't want anymore, because I used to be a corporate architect, and a separated marriage. And that's not what I signed up for when I first leapt into this parent journey. So, and the one thing that I love, and you've already touched on it, the playfulness and the joy, because for years I wasn't able to talk about that stuff with a big smile on my face, and with humor and playfulness. And now I can. And that's exactly what I love, the way that I love to work with parents, because when they can shift their relationship with the way that they parent, they can find acceptance, and then they can change the bits that they're not so happy with, the bits that aren't working for them. Because what I find, and I know we're going to touch on this later, is that it's really hard to change something if you're busy judging the hell out of it.
I think you touched on it a lot when you talked about expectations. You're like, this isn't what I signed up for, which implies I kind of knew what I was getting into, right? And as parents, we all know, like, it's hard to really know what it's going to be like. But we do have these expectations of the type of mother or father, role model, whatever, that we're going to be. And all of a sudden, it's just not that way.
God, yeah. I mean, I had this picture of this reality that I painted for myself, this vision of being a parent, and it didn't turn out that way, and it really knocked me for 6. So, yeah, I think expectations are a huge part of it, and the kind of rose-tinted glasses that we wear as parents. And mine was so rose-tinted, that I literally couldn't see.
You've got a rose behind you right now, so that's interesting.
It works, right? It works. So yeah, the expectations are a big one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What are the? I know you do a lot of work with parents one-on-one. You've got a program that you're running right now at the moment, and you've got another one coming up. But what are the things that you see parents struggling with the most? Like maybe 2 or 3 things that just keep popping up time and time again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, apart from the relationship with their kids and the relationship with their partners, right? And the relationship with themselves, and that comes into the reaction. It's the reactions that, they're just not happy with the way that they react to everyday situations, in their daily lives. Time is definitely a massive one that parents are really, really challenged by, and that's the program that I'm currently running. And perfectionism, this need to be perfect. I've got to be the perfect mom, and I've got to be the perfect, wife, and the perfect, career person as well, and juggle all this stuff. And just the need to get it right all the time, which trips up so many parents out there. Yeah. And it really needs to stop, because there's just no such thing as being a perfect parent, because one person's perfect is another person's complete nightmare, right? Because we're all so different. So I think those few things, time, perfectionism, and the reactions that we so easily fall into, they just kind of fall out of our mouths, and it's like, oh God, I did it again, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, completely. Okay, for those of you that are watching us live, thank you so much, or watching the replay, go ahead and comment around the expectations. Like, was parenting for you as you expected, or was it like mind blown? I know for me and people that follow me, one of the reasons I wrote my book, well, the main reason that I wrote my book was because no one tells us how hard the marriage is, the relationship love side of things, when you add kids to the equation, which is why I brought you in, because this is an area I'm not an expert. We say we're not the experts, we're the best friends you never knew you had, but you've been through it yourself. You've kind of been helping other people through just basically, I guess, not feeling guilty, ditching the perfectionism and things like that. What are the other ways that you help people, or the other pieces of advice or tips that you have for people that are judging themselves when things aren't going the way they expected?
Yeah, it's being really, really gentle with yourself, and getting and increasing your awareness around it. And this is, I know we're going to sort of dive into some of the traps that I love to talk about in parenting. And the biggest trap that I share awareness around is definitely the we parent from the past trap. And this is something that I had no awareness around. I had no idea that I was literally going to turn into my mother when I became a parent. And we absolutely turn into our parents, or a reaction to them, or we kind of swing over to the other end of the spectrum. But in terms of relationship, and this one really threw me, because, my pre-parent self and my husband's pre-parent self was like a completely different person than when we actually became parents. And just remember sort of looking at each other and thinking, oh my God, who are you? I have no idea who you are anymore. And being absolutely, totally unprepared for that change. Yeah, so that's a massive part in the relationship side, is how much we change when we become parents. It's just like a car crash. Yeah.
I love that you talk about here, I'll put that question up so people can see it. So I want to ask you guys, comment in the chat box, do you parent like your parents? Or did you, as Jacqlin says, swing the other way and basically do the opposite? Comment in the chat box. Let us know. So I love how you talk about these parent traps. What are some of the other parent traps that we fall into?
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so the never enough time trap. That's definitely a big one. And that was the program that I've been running this week, which is finishing today. And this is the, gaining awareness that we absolutely run this belief, right? We run this belief that just because we're parents means that we no longer have any time. Yeah. And it's such a belief that we fall into, such a trap, right? And, we hear it everywhere before we, all around parenting, before we become parenting, you can forget sleeping, because that's never going to happen again, right? And, alone time, going out, having a night away, having a weekend away, forget it, I mean, even to the point of, the simple daily things like going to the loo by yourself. Yeah, I mean, you may as well take the door off the hinges, because these are the beliefs that we simply kind of accept around time, around being a parent. And the issue with that is that just because the belief is there, we don't question it. We don't question it. We just accept it and think, oh, well, that's the way things are. I've pushed a giant pause button on my life as a parent, and it's all about my kids.
Yeah. And that's what you want to encourage people to do, right? Is to not push the pause button.
Oh God, I had my finger on the pause button for 5 years, and I was like, okay, I've really got to get that finger off the pause button, because the thing is that when we do that, when we push pause on our own lives, all we're modeling to our children is to do the same, is to put everybody else's needs around them in front of their own needs, and generally when I speak to parents, they're doing it out of love. I'm going to bring the love because that's a word that we've got in the title. They're doing it out of love. They're horrified to think that that's what they're actually doing, by modeling this behavior that, comes from a place of love, So yeah, that is the never enough time trap is a big one that so many parents fall into. Yeah,
it is. Thank you so much. Kate Ryan says, haha, I wildly swing between both. Like that is being her parents, not being her parents.
Yeah. And it so often happens in moments of stress. You kind of, you're swinging along really nicely, really smoothly, and then you get triggered, something your kid does, and then boom, something flies out of your mouth that is either one of those ends of the spectrum. So yeah, I absolutely hear that. Yeah.
I know that something you've talked about before is about putting the kids first. And you see that a lot with people. So is that another one of the traps?
It is another one of the traps. And I kind of touched on it a little bit with that, that giant finger on the pause button.
Yeah.
But, having awareness around this, right? The we put our kids first trap, will not only save your sanity, it will save your sex life and your marriage. Yeah. And this is the relationship stuff coming in, because we parent from the past, which is the trap that I've mentioned before. We so often feel like if we didn't get exactly what we needed as kids, if we didn't get the connection and, the attention that we felt that we needed, we tend to flip over to that other end of the spectrum and over give it to our kids, and we end up at the bottom of the heap, the bottom of the list, if we even make it on the list, right? So yeah, it's and this is a massive one, a massive one around parent roles, parent roles, because the thing is that what we saw our parents do is not current in today's climate, because we really want our dads, we really want our partners to be hands-on dads. And they want to be dads, they're like, I just want to be a dad, I can't wait to be a dad, and so many of the mums out there are kind of just shelving their husbands and their partners, because it's what we saw our mothers do, because the fathers just weren't around like they are these days. And this stems from way back, if you keep going with the cycles, because I know that for my mother, her father was in the war, so he wasn't around. So, and the big piece around this, and especially into the co-parenting, because so many relationships these days are splitting up, is that so many women are, sole parenting or being a single parent before they even become one. And this is huge, it's really, really impactful on the relationships that I'm seeing out there in the world.
Do you mean that it's breaking up before the baby's born?
Absolutely, because, because mum is just so programmed from the cycles from the past to do it all on her own. And dad's sort of coming in from the side going, yeah, I want to help. And mum's like, I got this, she's on the mission. And that's what I see out there. And, there's no fault there. It's just simply repeating these cycles, because that's what we saw when we were kids. And that's what we just so naturally fall into with these traps that I'm talking about. So,
yeah, it's so interesting, for me, like looking back, sometimes I think, oh my gosh, I'm trying to literally be my workaholic father as well as my brownie baking mother at the same time, because I'm like 2 businesses, bringing in the money, love doing what I do, while also wanting to be there for the kids, be able to, like, at the drop of a hat, you know, do this, do that. But then I had this really bitterness and resentment thing going on with myself and with my husband, where I go, and this is also because I'm very strong about gender equality, and specifically parental gender equality. So I have a lot of thoughts around, like, why is it the mom's job to take the kid to the doctor all the time? Like, why is it the mom's job? And part of that is me feeling like, yeah, I don't want to necessarily be the one doing it, but also gender. I feel like until we're equal, like, it's always going to be this battle for the mom to have 5 minutes to go to the toilet. I don't know. Are we creating a new normal of parenting here, or what?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Because, you know, these parent roles have been shifting and evolving slowly, you know, over decades, and it's time now for you know, women especially to stop taking on all that responsibility, you know, because we do, and the, you know, the thing about it being unconscious, you know, because it's unconscious behavior until we start looking at it. So, why am I doing that? You know, why am I doing it all? And why am I not, you know, inviting more help coming in from outside of myself? You know, not only my husband, but, you know, also these other people around me in my network, my parent network. So yeah, there's huge awareness and, you know, increasing sort of consciousness around all of that to do with parent roles, and I love being part of that. Yeah. Yeah.
So is that part of what you do? I mean, I want to talk about the parenting pathways, because not just because you do have a program coming up, but what are the parenting pathways? Is that part of what you do, helping couples or moms really navigate, I guess, around identity and roles? Like, how do you want to show up, and how can you not be the one doing all the things? Because I feel like it is our tendency, not just women, but, you know, in this global society where we can do it all, we can do everything. Well, that's a lot of pressure. But now I think also the man's role has changed. Now men are expected to, like, stir the dinner while holding the baby, while also bringing home the bacon as well. So it's not that it's hard for women and it's easy for men. I think we're just doing this dance to, like, navigate and figure out what's going to work so that everyone is, you know, in love, or the relationship is positive, whether they're together as a couple, or, as you call, you know, co-parenting. I know you call your husband, instead of ex-husband, you call him your co-parent, which I think is so empowering. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's so much in there. There's so much in there in terms of moving forward, and how to balance and how to understand. And the pathways for parenting is all about balance. It's all about finding balance in all of those areas that you've spoken about, and especially in terms of our relationships and the traps that we both fall into, men and women. Because you're absolutely right. Women fall into their own version, and men fall into their own version. And when men fall into their own version, you know, I mean, I know so many men who were carefree, like these, you know, these free bird-like spirit, you know, sort of guys. And then they become a parent, and all of a sudden it's like, right, I've got to get to work, and I've got work to do, and I've got to provide for the family, and holy, you know, and it's just like, wow, what happened? But that provider role, you know, and the performance kind of associated with that for these beautiful men out there in the world is a huge trap to fall into. So there's so much around that, and so much beautiful awareness and education for both men and women that can really start to dissolve the blame and the guilt and the, you know, the finger pointing of, you know, why aren't you doing more? It's like, because I've fallen into the trap, you know. It's to understand that. And I didn't have awareness around that when my co-parent, you know, when we separated, I had none of this awareness, you know. And the fact that we are co-parents, and the fact that our relationship is closer than it ever has been, is testament of this work. And what the Pathways to Parenting program is all about is understanding those different versions, yeah, of people, yeah, because we're all different. We all have different ways of viewing the world, seeing the world, experiencing the world, and it's like wearing different lenses, right? Different goggles. And when we can understand the different ways that each member in our family is viewing the world and experiencing the world, we can have compassion, we can have understanding, and it actually builds bridges between people rather than have these barriers up around, well, my way's right, so that means your way's wrong. Well, how about they're just different ways, they're just different versions, and the whole world opens up. The dynamic in your family opens up, and the transformation in people's lives is game changer, absolute game changer.
I think part of the key there is the languaging, the terminology that you're using allows people to go, oh my God, I've just fallen into a parent trap. And now all of a sudden, when you say that, the other parent knows what you're talking about, and it's kind of makes it okay. And it means like other people do it too. It's not just us. I've just fallen into the putting the kids first all the time parent trap, or I've just fallen into the there's no time parent trap. So I love that some of the languaging and the terminology and the concepts that you introduce just make people aware of when they're falling into those habits and helping them to get out.
And I also, and this is another trap that I'm just going to touch on, because it also it completely dissolves the judgment. It completely dissolves the judgment of it. It's like, oh my God, I'm in the trap, I'm in the trap. Or your husband can say, I think you might be in the trap, honey. And it's like, oh God, I didn't even see it. And when we can talk about it like that without any judgment, it's like there's a level of acceptance, there's a level of, almost fun and playfulness around it, where we're not stuck in the trap, we're not in that toxic glue anymore. It's like, yeah, I'm part of that trap. Yep, I've definitely, we all have versions of all of these traps. It's nothing like, I'm alone in all of this, or you're alone in it. We all have versions of it. And the more we can talk about it with ease and humor and grace, playfulness, like we are, the more normal it becomes to have these conversations, and the less judgment, and we can lift out of them. We can lift. Yeah.
And I know that you're sharing a lot of this in your group. So what are some of the other things that are coming up for people in the group? So if you guys that are watching, make sure you go and check out, it's called Your Parent Journey, free group that Jacqlin runs. And she's always jumping in there, giving awesome free tips and insights and tools and techniques for parents, where she talks about these traps. She also talks about the 3 F's. We can talk about that if you want to today. But definitely we'll put the link below. You can go and join that group for free, and definitely tag, I don't know, can other people invite their friends? How does the administration work?
Invite your friends, I think you can, or just send them the link, Your Parent Journey group.
Yeah. It's so brilliant. It's such a great way, because one of the things I find, even here, this is live stream, this is public. A lot of people will be watching, but they're like just sitting there, which is totally cool. They're just absorbing, they're pondering, they're hopefully maybe taking some notes, or just applying some of the concepts to their own life, which is amazing. That's what we want. Whereas I feel like in groups, there's that certain level of security or trust where people are more likely to engage. Are you finding that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I started the group earlier this year, and I had my Your Parent Journey page running, and I started, just sort of putting questions out there around time and around all of these pieces that we've been talking about, and getting very kind of little bits of engagement. And now I can actually put the same question on the page, and might get some likes, and very rarely a comment. Put it in the group, and there's like 25 comments, so there's a container that's there, that is really supportive, and it's full of like-minded parents who want to do this differently, who want to lift out of these traps, who want to empower themselves, and get out of their sort of old ways of falling into their parents' way of parenting. So yeah. It's incredibly supportive, and as I said, there's so much content that I'm always putting in there in terms of posts and live videos and trainings, and just going live to share stories about what transformation that clients have been through, and my own journey as well, of course. So yeah, there's so much in there.
One of the other things I love that you talk about, so you talk about the pause button. You also talk about, being outrageous. Like, we used to be cool and fun, and then we had kids, and we were all like serious and boring and trying to be perfect and feeling guilty and all the things. So I know you encourage parents to just have fun and like be outrageous and just be yourself again. So I want to ask you this question. This is the what's cool about you question. So let us know what's cool about you, what is coming up, and also where can people connect with you online?
Cool. Okay, so I mean, what's cool about me is that my focus is on empowerment, and I do it through play, because play is the energy that shifts anything. It absolutely shifts anything. If I start talking in a silly accent, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It doesn't matter whether it's kind of morphed, accents kind of pushed together. My kids just love it. They absolutely love it. Even when I start talking like the Queen, they think it's hilarious, and it doesn't matter what's going on in the house, if they're kind of squabbling, or, there's some heavy energy in the room and I just do something stupid or start dancing in a silly way or pulling silly faces, the energy shifts and we end up just laughing at each other. And I shared a little story in my program yesterday, because my kids used to fight like it was a national sport. And then one day I sat down there and I was just watching them and I was thinking, and I started narrating it like it was a national sport. And I was like, and the big boys coming in from the left and the little boys, and they're having a stare off. And it was just the most hilarious thing that had happened, that day. And the energy was shifted. We all ended up in hysterics and just having a great time. So that is definitely one of the cool things about me, is that I use playfulness, I use humor, because I spent 40 years of my life in that serious place that you're just talking about, where everything was serious. And I've done that now. Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm going to wear purple jackets and leg warmers and stuff, and have a good time as a parent. Really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm wearing my fun leopard print pants today, so there you go.
I've got mine on too. Yeah. And this is it, and I would never have done that before. And I'm like, life's too short to wear black. Yeah. I wore black for years as a corporate architect. So yeah, I'm done with that. Yeah,
awesome. Hey, for those of you watching, I love this question, which is what's cool about you. So go ahead and comment yourself. What is something cool that you've achieved, that you've done, a cool party trick, a talent? Maybe you speak 3 languages. Maybe, you, like me, here's one of mine. I used to be a multi-sport athlete, even though you don't see me out and about these days. I used to go for mountain bike training rides, 5 hours, just like your average training ride. So what's cool about you? Let us know. And also, the other thing I really want to highlight, I know you and I we both love personality types and understanding the way people are, because it helps us to judge each other less. But I also think that we both agree we are always evolving as humans. We're always changing. We're not in a box. We're not fixed. So I want to remind people watching, you can be who you want. Like, you are the CEO of your own life. You can show up and be the crazy leopard print wearing person if you want to be. Like, you don't just have to be in the should zone, right? You heard me talk about that before, where people expect you to act a certain way and wear a certain type of outfit and talk about a certain topics. It's like, you can just bring out your crazy. You can bring out your outrageous. You can be who you are. And like Jacqlin says, take your finger off that pause button.
Absolutely.
So how do they do that? How do they take the finger off the pause button? Tell us what you've got coming up.
Wow, that one is just, oh my goodness, it's so much about all of the tracks that we've been speaking about, and using my 3 Fs for parenting, which are all about freedom. Yeah, all about freedom. So I'm going to be sharing my 3 Fs through the next program, which is my Pathways for Parenting program, and that starts on the 10th of August, which is super, super exciting. So if you would like to know more about that, I can put the link to the program down the bottom here. Join the group. That's what's definitely, there's so much stuff happening in the group, and but yeah, definitely the Pathways for Parenting program that's coming up. That's going to be an incredible journey with an incredible group of parents who want to do things differently.
That's awesome. Are we able to know how long the program is?
So the program is an 8-week program with an intro week and an integration and celebration week when you come out the other end of it. So yeah, 10 weeks. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That is just, it's the best week, that one. I love running through that week with parents. Yeah.
Well, I'm such an advocate for celebrating our wins. And I'm also an advocate for, like you talked about earlier, asking for help. We all know intellectually that we should ask for help, but sometimes doing a parenting course with someone kind of guiding you and cheering you on, and other people that are in a same but different boat, I can be so powerful. Like us business people, we invest in ourselves. We do courses, we do programs, we do coaching. I feel like as parents, it's a really smart idea to do that too, to just equip yourself with different tools to help you, thrive and be happy and take your finger off that, that pause button.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, I've got 3 different mentors, and that's how my parenting shifted, was when I first started working with a parent mentor. And absolutely what you're saying, Nat, is just, as soon as you start investing in yourself in that way, things shift and change. And it's amazing to be, to actually invest in yourself in that way. I think so many people think, oh, well, I just am the way I am, and I just parent the way I parent, and there's nothing I can do about it. And there absolutely 100% is so much you can do about it. And when I think about it, because I used to work in childbirth education, so I used to work at kind of the front end of parenting, but I would get parents who, we're very focused on the birth. And this is so in line with what we're just talking about, because it's the bit after the birth that's kind of the long bit, like the rest of your life. And you're going to be a parent for the rest of your life. So if that's not worth investing in, I don't know what is, because, it's a huge, huge part of our lives when we become parents. So it's the best investment I've ever made on myself, is to work on my parenting.
Yay, awesome. I totally agree. All right, you guys. So what I'd love is, whether you write it in the chat box or not, just have a think about what is one action that you're going to take based on all of the things that Jacqlin covered here today around parenting, around love and relationships. Maybe it's that you're suddenly going to identify the traps. So when you're doing something or something comes out of your mouth, you go, oh, that's interesting. I'm in the I have no time trap right now. And you just start acknowledging it in those micro moments. Or maybe it's that you and your partner are going to sit down and talk about, hey, why am I always the one that has to take the kids to the doctor? No, we're going to talk about the roles that you want to have in your relationship. Like, I call them AORs, areas of responsibility. Like, what do you love doing? Like, my husband has really stepped up in the past, 3 years. He does like the logistics of the extracurricular activities. So he does the payments online, because I suck at email. So he's all in charge of all that. And we chat as a group and we plan what they're going to do, but he administratively makes sure that that's all sorted. And that is a weight off my shoulders. So as a couple, sit down. Maybe you're going to sit down and figure out your areas of responsibility, making sure that you're in your zone of genius or joy. And so you're not having to do it all or do all the things you don't love doing. Whatever it might be, comment, let us know what action you're going to take. Maybe you're going to join the program. Maybe you're going to join Jacqlin's group. We will put the link below, but definitely take some action. And until then, before I wrap up, actually, Jacqlin, is there anything else you want to add before I do my little final farewell?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I'd love to add is in that parent roles around alongside those awesome discussions about, it's sort of dividing up the work, so to speak, is, where, are we putting our relationship with each other first? As a couple, as co-parents, parenting children together, are we putting our relationship with each other first? That's one question that I would love for parents out there to be asked.
That's a no from me. No, it would be interesting if people comment on that, if they're bold enough, because we definitely are not. We are definitely that couple that's like, I think we've had 3 weekends away ever, meaning one night. So yeah, I think that's definitely, are you putting your relationship first is a great question. It's really something for people, including myself, to think about. Awesome. Thank you so much. And that's a great way to wrap up this session, you guys. So we're talking about love and relationships and parenting. And remember, until next time, to up your brave, say what you want, and make it happen. See you guys. Thanks, Jacqlin.
Well, thank you.